So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special video on Saturn. And today we're going to be trying to understand in the most simplistic manner 8th from Saturn. And how do we do this? How do we do these things related to 8th from Saturn, 6th from Saturn, 4th from Saturn? It is very simple. Stop looking at planets as planets. Stop looking at planets as some kind of a godly thing, even though they are. Stop looking at them for a moment. Start looking at a planet as a human being. A human being that has a story, has history. Okay? You can call it mythology, perhaps a very factual, statement of such a planet. But what you do, you try to give the reading to this particular planet as it is a human being. That's when you understand, once you know its history, when you know the events of what the planet has gone through to become Saturn, to become Jupiter, to become Mars. Because in Hindu, a Vedic astrological text, each planet has a story of birth. Each has a story of what happened after their birth, which specifically you will get from books like Graha Purana. Beautiful book. So this is why today we're going to be looking at 8th from Saturn. That means if Saturn is a human being, that means Saturn is coming to you for a reading. That means Saturn is going to be in the first of a birth chart. Not for everybody, just because we wanted to understand Saturn. Who are you? What are your body parts? Just like I even did 12th from Saturn. So looking at this concept of body parts and their life, we want to see, hey, what happened to the 8th from yourself? So that's what we're going to try to understand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what 8th from Saturn is. And then I'm going to show each sign 8th from Saturn on my KRS vlogs, which is on my academy, Magha Vedic Astrology Academy, at KRSchannel.thinkific.com or maghavedicacademy.com. So let's start with this particular subject. So first of all, what is the 8th house? What is the 8th house? See, 8th house we get really scared of. When you're an amateur like I was, and I still feel sometimes, the more I get to know about astrology, the more I know I'm nothing. I'm like such a child of astrology. But especially when you're starting out in the basics of astrology and you'll read all kinds of books and articles, 8th house becomes this scary point, right? They say 8th house is a house of death. But what people fail to really understand, especially if you read what some of the greatest sages have been saying, 8th house is not death. 8th house is rejuvenation. 8th house is transformation. 8th house is death, but rebirth. Meaning in this life, there becomes a death of something and rebirth of something else. That's what 8th house is. 8th house is also secrecy, inheritance, occult, mysticism. And if you really want to know, it's the 7th house that actually is a house of death. It's not the 8th house. It is especially the 7th house. So because in Vedic astrology, 2nd house and 7th house and 8th house is Marka houses. The killer houses, meaning not just basic like killing. It's the end of something, start of something. But when you look at somebody's life, yeah, it'll be mostly 7th house. But 8th house is always transformation. So now when Saturn is 8th from Saturn, represents Saturn's transformation, Saturn's rebirth. Saturn's rising like the phoenix. And Saturn is our karma. Saturn is our duty, our commitment, our sacrifices that we have to make in this life. Saturn represents the actual work. Saturn becomes, in a way, our prarabdha, that unchangeable karma, which is why we are born, and now we have to live through it. So you will see 8th from Saturn becomes a point that you will find transformation through. You will have to kill something and bring something new up in order for you to feel new again, in order for you to go towards God, in order for you to go towards higher philosophy, finding better luck in life. Because why? What is next from the 8th house? It's the 9th house of luck, fortune. So that means until you go through the 8th house, the fortune of your karma will not be there. So 8th from Saturn becomes that point where something is going to change, and only after it changes that it is going to give that 9th house result, that 9th house of fortune, that 9th house of luck. So for example, you have, let's say, Saturn in the ascendant in your birth chart. That means 8th house is that house of transformation, and also represents scandals. 8th house, hidden enemies, many things. But depending upon what the sign is, okay, you will see that until you go through this rejuvenation in your actual life, in your actual physical self, only then you find the luck. Like, for example, you will hear stories of people who were great athletes. Okay, we know athletes make billions of dollars now. Like $100 million contract is actually low for athletes. Whether you look at someone like LeBron James or whether you look at Ronaldinho, it's a very low contract. So what you will hear is that certain athletes, until they dealt with a certain, let's say, injury, went to rehabilitation, that they actually got better. Or athletes who injured themselves, lost everything that they had. Because as an athlete, remember, Saturn is in the physical self, physical body. And only when that sudden stop came in of the body, and then they had to restart the body again, rework on their knee, or find that complete transformation through a certain injury, then what happens is they figured out that, you know what, there's more to life than just these sports. They become a better person. They take care of themselves financially. They even find, theological pursuits in their life. But 8th from Saturn must happen, because remember, with Saturn, everything must happen. It is your karma. It is the prarabdha. Whether it's 2nd from Saturn, 5th from Saturn, 9th from Saturn. So 8th from Saturn becomes that point that in order for that better luck to come in, you have to go through that 8th house thing. Any successful person has made such sacrifices that some people can't even fathom, can't even think of. So you can take Saturn, 2nd from Saturn, 4th from Saturn. Now, of course, I don't want to discuss certain things, because certain things dwell into certain pragmatic, analysis and prediction, that I would rather do it with one-on-one, where rather do it with, let's say, somewhere in privacy, like, for example, my vlog. But 8th house is that rejuvenation that you must go through. So, for example, you will also see, let's say you take Saturn in the 7th house. 7th house is marriage. 7th house is higher ranking in life. 8th from Saturn becomes the 2nd house. And whenever Saturn is in the 7th house, the person must break the barrier of leaving the family not relying on the family, becoming independent to find their luck in life. One cannot find luck through just having support of the family. You will not grow. You cannot transform yourself into a butterfly from a caterpillar. You're going to have to leave family. And when that happens, when marriage happens, marriage naturally will separate you from your family. Or specifically when somebody tries to do business. Whenever you will see Saturn in the 7th house tries to do business, slowly they start to become separated from their family. For whatever reason, maybe they had to move away. Maybe family doesn't like that they're doing business instead of some title job. So now there's this little barrier. But that separation has to happen for their transformation to come in. And for example, Saturn is in the 2nd house. 8th from Saturn becomes the 9th house. Only until after a person finds a guru, only until after a person realizes that I cannot ignore God, I cannot ignore my divinity, only then a person will move forward. Only then. And there are many other things that happens that bring about these Bhagya Uday. See, 8th from Saturn becomes Bhagya Uday. But it's not just one thing that will bring Bhagya Uday. Many different scenarios from whichever 8th from Saturn is will bring that. Now, for example, you can even look at Saturn sitting 8th from a certain planet. Well, until that sacrifice is made towards that house, that particular planet cannot activate. Like, for example, you have a Raj Yoga. Saturn is 8th from that Raj Yoga or that Dhan Yoga. And you're thinking, why is it not manifesting? I'm running through the Dasha, Antra Dasha is becoming harder and harder. Well, actually, that is the process that is becoming active. That, hey, there's something you need to sacrifice here. You need to kind of like not do this, but do this in order to get that Raj Yoga activated. So this is why not only 8th from Saturn, where Saturn is 8th from. And I will discuss this as well in the coming weeks. What is 8th from Saturn doing? We know what 8th from Saturn is doing, but what is Saturn doing 8th from something? Okay? And remember, Saturn's biggest lesson came through Hanuman. Saturn was just judging people left and right, giving hard time to people left and right. And that's when Surya actually consulted Hanuman and said, listen, can you teach my son a lesson? He's kind of becoming a little too wild out there. And that's when Hanuman taught him a lesson. And that's when Saturn realized that, okay, whoever is your devotee, I will not harm them so much. I will not bring such a harsh message to them. So his transformation came. That was Saturn's transformation. That, okay, I know I'm this malefic thing, but you have just taught me that I need to ease up. So a guru comes in. So any 8th from Saturn, some individual will come in that you just cannot defeat, that you just cannot, get over until you bow in front of them. Only then you get over. And this is where Saturn is about letting go of the ego. Letting go of the ego. Saturn in the 11th house, okay? Until you bow to your enemy, your competitor, saying that, yeah, you got me. Here I am trying to outrank you in my position at work. I can do it. You're the person, because you will see when Saturn is in the 11th house, they will have one competitor that they just can't beat, can't get rid of. And it's not like you run away from it. Running away from it will not do anything. You must say, yeah, you are better than me. You taught me a great lesson. When you say that, you watch how your transformation and Bhagyodaya occurs. These are harsh. These are harsh lessons. Can you do that? The person that you hate the most, who always keeps taking the project from you, or the business across the street that keeps taking your customers, can you bow in front of them? This is why these are the lessons of Saturn. Okay. So again, I'm going to make video of all the zodiac signs 8th from Saturn on my KRS vlogs in the coming week. Okay. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Saturn is placed, along with where sign is, nakshatra is, all your astrological details, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, consultations, and link to my academy, MVAA. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just out here in a nothingness zone. So I'm going to enjoy that. Bye-bye.